All right, ladies and gents, thank you very much for joining us today on yet another episode of the All Things Aviation Pod. We are joined today by a great man all the way from Egnatia Aviation. It's Mr. George Triantafyllidis, and he's going to be speaking with us today about what it's like to train. You're an audience member, you're listening, you're watching, you want to become a pilot. Well, don't worry. George is going to walk you through how to become a pilot. George, you're a business developer, facilities management director at Egnatia Aviation. Let's get into it. Tell us what it is that you actually do and how people can go about using your services.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Nice to see you. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really enthusiastic of participating in discussions and posts like this. So well done for what you do, first of all. Eli, about your question, my position is actually I'm head of the sales and marketing department in Egnatia Aviation, as well as the facilities management. This is a large-scale business. We have to manage lots of different facilities in terms of airports, maintenance, hangars, ground schools, and I'm the head of these departments. So this is my position. What we do, simply speaking, we provide airline pilot training. So we do train both sponsored and self-sponsored cadets to the airline industry.
Wow, that is quite incredible. And I suppose, being a large-scale business, you see quite a numerous amount of students coming through your school. I mean, before the podcast started, we were talking about how 65% of your students come from outside of Greece. That must be really interesting, facilitating such a tailor-suited training that helps people from outside of Greece. What goes into putting a course like that together?
I would answer that one in a very simple word, that the market is very fair. What I mean with that one is that there are students choosing Egnatia Aviation for many reasons. Having a different mix of nationalities in the academy, which, for your information, at the moment we've got 36 different nationalities under training, active ones.
Wow.
While we have trained more than 57 different nationalities so far. What we do is that we provide them with a training which is complying both with the ATAP, which is the European regulation, and with their own authority. What I mean with that one, we've got lots of Kuwaitis, let's say, okay? They are coming directly to Ignatia because they know that when they graduate, they will be ready to fly for their local airlines, since they comply both with their local requirements and with the ASA. So they choose Ignatia Aviation because what we do is that we obviously meet the demand for the local airlines, wherever is that one. And number two, there is a technical assessment and there's a technical, gap that we fulfill in terms of training. So having all these different nationalities, it makes no difference for us. No difference. We do the same thing. We provide airline pilot training. Okay, wherever you are from Oman, or you are from UK, or you are from Ukraine, or Spain, or Greek, it is exactly the same for us. The airline industry has got the same standards, so this is what we do.
Fantastic stuff. My co-host today, Seth Van Beek, is a student that finished from your school. He then went on to become the youngest qualified commercial pilot in the UK. We are pleased to now have him on the show. Of course, you're aware that Seth is flying his Eclipse 550 jet across European airspace, and you trained this man. So tell us a little bit about your relationship with Seth and how you guys, met each other. And obviously, I know he went to your school. So what happened there?
That's a very, very, very nice story that I will always remember. Let me say something about Seth. I remember I was sitting in my office and I got a call. So it was his mother, okay? Seth was like 17 at the time, very, very young. He's 20. We are all jealous about that one anyway. So it was his mother saying that this is my name, and we visited Greece to go through aviation schools. Fair enough. So we wanted to visit Egnatia just to have a look, and we arranged the visit next day morning. Is that so?
Yes, it was the next day, less than 24 hours.
So when they came in, it was a matter of half day to convince them, because it's you need to get convinced that whatever you see or whatever you get through your email is whatever it's there. Okay, so we need to make sure that whatever we promise, it's being delivered. That's a very big motto for Egnatia Aviation. So Seth went through the training. I never heard of his name again because, whenever I get a name in my office, it means that there is an issue. I never got his name back to my office. I just got his graduation picture, and I'm really happy, and that was really expected that Seth would get a job even through the pandemic. That's extremely important. He got employed through the hard times of the pandemic, okay? Meaning that the company that hired him found something that we know he deserved to do it, but they found it as well. So they invested in him. They will keep him, and I know that they will be happy with him, with such a guy. I can be saying good things about Seth, but let's not overreact because he would get it.
I mean, I suppose you really touched up on a really interesting point there because, in a moment when there's essentially a shortage of pilots, Seth was able to land the job. This is a testament to how good your training must have been and how hard Seth has worked. Now, we always wanted to have a segment on our podcast where we would talk about how to become a pilot, how to train. Now, I know Seth has a couple of questions regarding this, so I'll let Seth handle this next series of questions so we can really try and enter into how to train as a pilot and how Ignatia, being one of the biggest schools in Europe, can facilitate that dream if that's what you want to do. So, Seth, over to you, mate.
Thank you, Daps. Hi, George. So we know that I know how it works, but just for the people viewing, do you mind to walk us through the initial enrollment process into Ignatia and what separates it from every other flight school? We know that it's a top school in Europe. I've experienced the first class training, but if you just walk the viewers through what the initial enrollment process is and how long it takes.
First of all, it takes the commercial training, the integrated course, which is from 0 to the end as a combined course without any gaps. This takes 17 months. When I'm saying gaps, I'm not meaning, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have your days off. You will. But this is a structured course that you get on a path line, and that's what the airlines want. They want to see an 18-year and 22-year-old person, either male or female, going into training, and we know that he starts on that day and he finishes on that day on a specific schedule. That's extremely important for the airline. That's number one. Number two, it might be negative what I'm saying now, but it's not that anyone can become a pilot, okay? There are people that they are good to become doctors, engineers, physicists, or accountants. So it doesn't mean that anyone that wants to become a pilot can become a pilot. To support this one, we've got a very, very detailed and thorough pre-entry airline selection. We need to find out if the cadet is trainable and deployable, okay? It's the easiest thing to say that, okay, Nadine, for example, or okay, Seth or Ailey, welcome in, we open the doors, you go into training and we'll see. We need to make sure that you are able to get trained and you're able to get employed. Otherwise, you're just getting a license, which is not what we do. We need to provide the airline industry with ready first officers, okay? So what actually makes Egnatia different from other schools at the beginning is the entry selection, the pre-entry selection. You need to be assessed, and we need to make sure that the investment that you're going through is going to pay back at some point, okay?
Yeah.
So after you conduct Egnatia, there is you go through the admissions department and the cadet selection department. You go through the registration process. After you pass the selection and you do your medical class 1, which is something we can mention. What is that one? The medical class 1 is the basic medical check that all pilots need to do on an annual basis for the whole of their life. Actually, they do it in a 6-month blocks after a certain age. And then once you pass all this process, you are ready to enter the next starting date, okay? You go through a very, very intense course. Seth, I know that you can confirm that one. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's a very, very good and very, very promising career, okay? Both in terms of social and financial status in your life, okay?
Indeed.
So you need to invest your time, your money, and your career, your future career in 17 months. So it's extremely important to make sure that you made the right choice.
Definitely. And one thing for me that I really enjoyed about Ignatia was the fact that everything is broken down into flying theory, where you're able to take one part of what you learned in theory, put it into flying, what you learned in flying, and then put it back into the theory. And what was the model when Ignatia was thinking of it? What was the thought process behind this flying theory, where most schools just do theory and flying?
It is a matter of consolidation. You do understand that getting it, it's a matter of consolidation, it's a matter of practicability. Doing theory first is the easiest thing to do. However, you get a 20-year-old person under training, and if you give him theory all the way from the beginning, then, as we say, you lose him, okay? He's not there. So you need to make sure that you apply the required topics and subjects at the beginning, then you do flight phase 1, and so on. That's why we broke the whole training in blocks. Seth, I'm pretty sure that you know the latest development, which is the competence-based training course, okay?
Yes.
Which is the course that it's not task-based, it's about competencies. This is actually coming into force, and the class of September is starting is the first academy that we're starting the competence-based training course, although it's not mandatory. But we do already these ones for partner airlines such as Wizz Air and Aegean, and this is actually coming into force, and is actually assisting us in this breakdown: theory, flights, theory, flights, theory, flights. Okay, so you need to apply what you've learned to theory in your flight phase, and this is how you actually, consolidate what you've learned. It's a simple model to think about. It requires lots of resources, though.
Yes, it's a great model. Personally, I have a personal experience from it when we're doing an AGK or instruments in phase 1, and we're learning about vertical speed indicators, altimeters. And I was like, what is this? I've never seen this thing in my life. But then once we went into phase 1 of flying, it then began to make sense. Okay, this is what the VSI is. This is what they mean when they talk of static pressure. And you see the differences in it. And personally, that helped me a lot through my training and to make it successfully all the way to the end. And another big thing at Ignatia is the mindset. It says on the website as well about having a mindset for success. How is it possible that Ignatia is able to achieve creating the right mindsets for cadets?
Believe me, the hardest thing to do in our training is to prepare a young boy or girl, let's say, a young person, to get dressed and be on time at 8 o'clock in the morning with your uniform, with your tie, with your epaulets. You should not be late. So it's the mentality and the philosophy. Okay, technical knowledge is something that we are experts to do, but getting someone to the mentality is something that is extremely important in your whole career. There will be no passenger waiting for the captain or the first officer. You need to be on time. So you need to be on time when you're going to the class. So simple. Okay.
Exactly.
That's part of the pre-entry selection. Okay. We know already. We know your behavior. We know your personality, and our job, what we are getting paid for is to train you accordingly. Okay. So the mindset is very simple. The customer is the airline for Egnatia Aviation. Okay. You are the products. And I'm being very positive about that one. If you are a good product, then the airline will get you in. That's why you've got this high employment rate. Obviously, we're doing something good. Obviously, we've got airlines choosing Ignatia because, it's not because George is handsome and safe, because they get the results. So
exactly.
Simple. They will get their crews trained, and they will get their passengers flying, and they will make money as a business.
Exactly. And the big thing for me that helped me a lot, even through my career now, is that thing of being on time. That Ignatia, it wasn't get there an hour before your flight to start preparing. It was get there an hour before your flight, ready to fly. And that's how it is now in my career. I get to the airport. Our report time is an hour before. I get there an hour 15, an hour 30 before to give me that 30 minutes to prepare. So 1 hour before my flight, I'm fully prepared for it. And it was that mentality that I built up through the 17 months at Ignatia.
It is, we do mirror the airline mentality and the airline procedures. We've got all the different departments that you can find in an airline. Okay, you've got the flight operations, you've got the training department, you've got the ground school, you've got even the accounts, the admissions, sales and marketing, maintenance. So when you enter Egnatia, it's like entering an airline in a smaller scale, but this you've got the operations, you've got the flight line. So getting someone from day one and act and treat them as a professional pilot is something that we've got 100% success when you go for your airline interview. Believe me, when you go to the interview panel, this will last like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It will take them 5 minutes to know if you are capable to do the job or not. And if you've got the qualifications, they know, they've got the experience, okay? So it is your 30 minutes time to make it happen and make all your training pay back for you.
Amazing. Fabulous. I'll hand it back over to Eli. I'm sure Eli has a lot more interesting questions. Over to you, Eli, bro.
Thank you very much, Seth. That was an interesting line of questions that I hope will really benefit our viewers and our audience. So thank you very much for that, Seth and George. Your website states something that I really, really like. It says, we work on the student's character, personality, and attitude. What do you mean by this, and how do you achieve it? Now, I know you've answered this in part by talking about personality of the student, but what is it that Ignatia actually does in enhancing the mindset of people when they go in?
I will give you some in bullet points. Everyone is wearing a tie. That's a policy. Everyone needs to be on time. That's a policy. This is not the military, okay? Let's not mix. But this is your career. Everybody needs to focus and needs to attend the class. There are absences, okay? There are certain absence limitation. So you need to follow certain policies and standard operating procedures and policies. Seth and Nadine, they understand what I'm saying about, okay? So building the character and the personality of a young person is extremely important. You need to come with your uniform clean, without anything else except your tie and your epaulets. You cannot come with a pink shirt because you mix it and you wash it with a red. Happened many times, okay? With red clothes. I've seen it many times. Young people leaving their home and they come with the pink shirts because they don't know how to wash them. But still, that's something that this is still a matter of training. Going into the flight line and your flight training on a certain time and your instructor is waiting for you. All these things, there are small things, but believe me, this is the success factor is increasing a lot with all these minor things.
Wow, okay? That's really interesting. I'm glad that you answered that question in the manner that you did, because it means that when people are listening to this, they will see that going into aviation is one thing, but mindset is massive. Becoming a pilot who's going to fly people from A to B consistently on a rota that's 5 days on, 4 days off takes a lot of mental preparation. Let's talk about expansion. Why don't we? So currently you're based in 2 cities in Greece. You're in Kavani and you're also in Kozani. Kavala and Kozani, right? Currently facilitating training to 350 students. Now that's a massive operation by the standards of many. That puts you in the top 5 aviation schools in Europe. But you want to do better than that. Let's talk about that. So what's the plans for Ignatia for the future?
The plan is to go into a third airport as well, which is something that we are working on. We are getting the final approvals, and it's something to announce soon enough. In a few words, we are planning to have our own aviation campus and our exclusive airport. So we'll be the exclusive airport operators, meaning that we can increase our capacity up to 500 cadets a year. Training 500 cadets a year in Europe is something that no one else can do. I will be very fair. I wish there would be big schools as well, like Ignatia. The demand is coming back. The demand is very big. Airlines cannot train their pilots. If we're talking about 2019 numbers, there were not enough qualitative schools for airlines to train their cadets. And this will come back. I know the pandemic is something that affected everyone, but having big schools and large-scale operations is something that we are looking to it. Because, when you've got a voice and it's only 2 or 3 academies, and they're becoming 15 or 20 academies, then the voice is bigger and louder, and then you can request things, and then you can change the regulation, and then you can work better with airlines. So we are being positive on that one. We are being, very constructive. So expansion is something that it's happening. It's the last 3 years in Ignatia. We have expanded in 2019. We got 9 new aircraft and 4 new simulators. Okay, we are accommodating 3 airline contracts that they are still active despite the pandemic. Okay, and we've got some positive signs from the cooperating airlines that they will continue in 2022 the training. So continuing that one means that we need to expand more, and this is what we are doing. It's being done very, very carefully. You know, it could end some risks, but we are doing that one very, very carefully. We know how to do it because we are celebrating the 15 years of operations, and we've done this 3 times already, the expansion. So,
wow.
Wish us good luck.
Well, the very best of luck. The way that you speak, George, I have no doubt in my mind that expansion is something that you're going to conquer. It just sounds like to me that your confidence is quite there. So you're definitely going to be able to achieve your goals and ambitions with your company. So, when we're looking at aviation, not every family has the funding for aviation. Sometimes, you get families that can immediately afford it and some that can't. When you're looking at the business model, the customer is really the airline and the product is the student. So when a family comes that can't afford a integrated flight training because it's 17 months and there's literally 0 intervals, it's 17 months, you're paying like 19,000 euros. I don't know what the fees are every 3 months. Some people might prefer to go modular. Okay. I want to become an airline pilot, but I can only afford to go modular because I want to do my PPL first, take 1 month off, do ATPLs, take 1 month off, and then start hours building and commercial, etc., etc. Is there room for students like that within your school?
100% yes. We are approved both for modular and integrated as well as for MPL training. Modular is a way that families can afford the training for the kid. The most important thing in modular is still the selection, the entry selection. It's not required to go for an airline selection doing your PPL, but if you're doing a full-time modular, meaning that full-time, you're going from 0 up to the CPL, from 0 to hero, as we say, and this is what you need to do. We need to know from day one if you are able to do it. You can finish your training in 3 years' time, in 4 years' time, because this is your financial. Totally accepted. Please go through an airline selection. In Egnatia, we go through airline selection even for modular cadets, which is not required according to the regulations, but we need to make sure that, Ellie, if you want to become an airline pilot, we need to know. If this is a yes, you start with a PPL, you've got your break, you go back to work, and you raise some more money. So this is something that we do 100%. Something else that I can add in funding, which is a big topic in pilot training. Pilot training is not cheap; it's expensive. Okay, it's not easy to have 60, 70, 80,000 euros to spend within 1.5 years. Okay, it's not easy. And the banks there are countries that banks are keen on providing loans, but we've got the cadet schemes as well. So there are options with cadet schemes. There are airlines that they sponsor partially, even fully, the cadets to become under a certain contract bond, to become their pilots. So there are ways, okay? I understand it's not easy, it's not cheap, but if it's your life dream, modular could be the way.
That's incredible. Thank you very much for answering that as well. It's quite important because as it relates to me, I've got a private pilot's license that I did many years ago, and that's my background in aviation. And that was the sort of model that I followed, was to go through a modular training system. I did my ATPLs as well, did all 14 exams, and that's where I kind of stopped. But I just know that there's quite a lot of people that the finances of it is where the limitation will be. They're quite very smart, intelligent, but the finances of it is where it kind of ends for most. But in terms of running a school of the caliber that you do, you must face some challenges. What sort of challenges do you face on your day-to-day? Like you mentioned, Seth never was in your office, so Seth was a good student. What sort of challenges do you run on a daily basis?
If you don't, there is a motto that if you don't have problems, there's something wrong. So if you have problems, it means that the business is running. There are different issues that we are facing in terms of students' performance or this kind of thing. We've got all the structure. We've got the training team. We've got the welfare office to assist our cadets. There are external factors that they affect training. For example, we might have visa delays because there are student visas that need to be issued for any kind of pilot school in Europe. We might have issues in terms of the pandemic, if you see so. So we might have issues with the regulation with the authorities. But still, that's part of the game, okay? If it was so easy, everyone would establish a flight school and would be doing the same job. The know-how is extremely important. It's not easy to get the know-how. It takes time. It takes lots of stress. It takes lots of time. But then you get to the point to have a very big organization like Egnatia Aviation. There are challenges, but there are two ways. You either accept the challenges and you work on them, and you are very, very reactive and proactive as well, because you can be proactive, or you say that I cannot do anything and you see the business going down. We always choose the first one. That's why we meet very, very regularly with the ministries, with the government, with authorities. We travel a lot. We take part in big training symposiums, and we are part of the industry. Okay, so we listen what the industry wants, and this is what we are applying in our training and services.
As one of the top 5 schools in Europe, you've got quite a lot of competition as well. You're in a great position because you're in Greece. The weather is great in Greece. You get quite a lot of days of sunny spells, sunny weather. Clear blue skies, as we like to say in aviation. So that puts you in a great position. Now, I'm thinking about this, right? So when you're running a business like yours, you've got a lot of competitors as well. What's one of the things that keeps you in the game? Apart from the fact that you understand and you speak to the airlines, apart from the fact that you have great training, what else keeps you in the game for a long time?
Very good question. Thank you very much. I received questions from students saying that, George, it's the same license, correct? It's EASA. Why should I choose Egnatia and not go to X or Y aviation? I will give you some reasons of why Egnatia Aviation. Number one, weather conditions in Greece, as we said. Number two, our own maintenance facilities. So minimum downtime for our training fleet. Number three, airport network. When you do airline training, you need to have the airport network available for the proper training. We are operating in 7 different airports, apart from the ones in Kaval and Kozani. Okay, all of them are in the range of 60 nautical miles, meaning that in a 2-hour flight you can do 3 approaches. Seth can confirm that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 4, we've got an employment rate of exceeding 95%. It means that something is good here. Okay. We've got modern fleet, and we invest in our fleet and personnel as well. Having an ex-airline captain on board as an instructor, or having the top of the cream, as we say, from the Air Force, the Greek Air Force instructors, is something that we invest in them, because these are the people that they are going to train our cadets. Okay. Why Egnatia Aviation? Why all the competitive airlines so far, like big names such as Aegean, Iraqi Airways, Wizz, Qatar Airways, Air Arabia, Kuwait, Oman? Why did they choose Egnatia? They found something there to get the pilots trained for Egnatia. And something very, very important, that what we promise is being delivered. Okay, there are no gimmicks. Okay, that's why we always ask prospect students to visit. Please come over, talk to other cadets active. Don't listen to George. Listen to Mohammed or to Seth or to John, because these are the ambassadors of the academy. Okay, these are the ones that they will tell you the real picture, and there will be no gray areas.
Wow, that is incredible, George. One of the things is that parents that are watching at home, right? They've got a child, they want to become a pilot, right? Let's say they pass all the training assessments, psychometric testing, personality tests, everything. They're going to start, training at Egnatia Aviation, right? But they start to underperform. How do you handle that? Have you ever had a story of someone that looked promising, for whatever odd reason, they just didn't fit in, they just weren't getting to where they wanted to get to with their performance? And how did you handle that? Did you have to have a conversation with the students and their parents? Have you ever had to let a student go because you didn't feel like they could cut it? Or did you just do everything in your part to train them? Because if you're training 350 students every year, you're going to get one that's maybe not cut out to be a pilot.
It's more.
Okay.
It's more.
Okay.
There are many factors that students, decide that they don't want to do anymore. The pre-entry selection is something. It's a very, very good service, a very, very good option to see, to check the mentality and the personality of a cadet. But there are many external factors affecting a young person. We had a cadet that there was a very serious family health issue that he decided to cancel his course. There was another cadet that he got his medical class 1 cleared. In his first renewal, there was a serious medical issue, so he had to leave the course. There was another one that he wanted to become a pilot. His father wanted to become a pilot, not himself. He was a very capable young guy, but he came to my office 6 months later saying that, Mr. George, honestly, I want to become an engineer. And that was my father's dream, so I want to terminate my training. You've got these kind of things, okay? It's good that there are not many, but what we have established the checkpoints, as we say, throughout the training. So there are milestones that each cadet needs to pass in order to continue with the next phase. So we need to be fair with the cadet and with the sponsor as well. So if Eli is under training, first, after he finishes the first group of subjects, he will be under a certain, let's say, check ride, okay? And there will be another certain assessment to see if he can be released for the first flight phase, okay? So you cannot have 350 in and 350 out. That's strange if you do, okay? There are people that they cannot complete the training. But fingers crossed, this is a minor percentage.
This is a minor percentage. That's incredible. Just two more things that I'd like to add on before I go to my co-host Seth for some more questioning as well. First of all, I kind of feel like I want to go train at Ignatia now. I feel like I want to go train with you. I kind of want to. I want to get into your fleet of aircrafts in a moment and why you've decided to go with those types of aircraft. I'm sure you've got some glass cockpits, and the reason why is probably because you want to train people in a modern manner. We're going to get into that in a second. But my sort of thing I wanted to say, you were saying something about Ignatia. The word Ignatia means something interesting. I wanted our audience to hear from you what Ignatia actually means.
The Ignatia actually is a very famous street, which it is one of the two main streets starting from Rome to western to eastern Greece. Okay, so it is. You can imagine the way. So this is what Ignatia crosses all over northern Greece, and Kavala. In Kavala, you've got. It's like a brand, as we say. You've got the Egnatia Aviation, you've got Egnatia Hotels, you've got Egnatia Highway. So it is, a traditional name that for locals is very, very popular. That's why when the college was established back in 2005, that was, one of the first options to do, and that's why the name became a very big brand in pilot training as well.
Wow, that's incredible. And it's a road that apparently Jesus walked, right? Was it? He walked?
Yeah, there are some this connection as well. So if you visit Greece and you do some historical sightseeing, they will be giving you the full story. And for us, it's something very, very usual. But it's true that it's a very traditional name that is being here for thousands of years.
That's fantastic. Let's get into fleets of aircrafts. So what sort of aircraft can I expect to fly if I go to your school? Why have you chosen these types of aircraft? What are the advantages?
We are operating exclusively Diamond aircrafts, which is actually the leading manufacturer of training aircraft the last 10 years. Why? They're efficient. They are. It is the closest. It's the best connection to the airline operation. Okay. We've got glass cockpits, and it is efficient. They are well performing, and there are there are less limitations in terms of flight training compared to other big manufacturers like Cessna and Vipers. We have decided to invest in a new fleet. That's why in 2009 we changed our fleet, and in 2019 we doubled our fleet as well with choosing exclusively Diamond. Having Diamond on board and being us as dealers and distributors of Diamond in the region makes our life easier as well. If you need a spare part, since you are a very big customer, you get it next day in the morning. We've got the experience in terms of maintaining our aircraft and our training fleet. So it's a good relationship. That's why, when you are happy with something, you don't really change and you go to other options.
Yeah, no need to fix it if it works, right? Just leave it as it is, basically. Awesome.
Correct.
Due to some Zoom constraints, and we've had this conversation already, and we're having this conversation on Zoom. We're just keeping an eye on the time, and then we're going to jump back on the game. But Seth, I wanted to quickly go over to you, see if you had a few more questions.
Nothing particularly from me. I just love hearing the insights of Ignatia, where I trained. It brings back loads of memories about the aircraft and the flying. And the great thing about Ignatia and the aircraft is the immaculate safety record of the company, with safe aircraft that in the morning when you get there, you're not worried about will the aircraft fall out of the sky when I'm flying, because I'm sure George can explain further. Every morning, the maintenance team have a look at all of the aircraft, and every night at the end of the day, the maintenance team have a look at the aircraft. So George could go a bit more deeper into that and the reason behind it.
And we will.
One of the reasons I said why Egnatia Aviation was our own as a maintenance team. We make sure that there's always an engineer available during training time. So there's an engineer available from 6 o'clock in the morning until 12 o'clock in the night. We do inspect and pre-inspect our aircraft before they are being released on a daily basis. Okay, so if there is any issue, the maintenance team is available. Safety is extremely important for us. Okay, so the maintenance team with the vast experience ensures that Ignatia's fleet is being available for the training team 100%.
Wow. George, you're an incredible man. You keep your answers very short and concise, which is perfect because we have less than a minute to go. We're going to jump back on again for at least another 20 minutes of your time, sir, if that's okay. And then we're going to wrap up the podcast. Is that okay?
Good, yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Great stuff. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Seth Van Beek. Clear left, clear right. Hasta la vista. Clear for takeoff. Alrighty, so I'm going to press record.
Give me 2 seconds. I just need to sort out something. Ops was messaging. So
all right, dude.
I'll just mute myself.
All right. I'm going to press record. All right, good man. Take it. All right, good man. All right.
Recording in progress.
All right, Zoom's recording is back in progress. Thank you very much, everyone, for your patience. George, thank you very much for joining us back again. Nadine, Seth, we're going to get right back into it. So we have a news segment. In our news segment, it's led by Nadine. The idea of our news segment is to have a look to see current affairs within aviation. Whenever we have a guest on, we like to ask them the questions from, that's been talked about from the news so we can get their perspective. So Nadine, what do you have for us today?
Teenage pilot Zara Rutherford begins solo round world record bid. The teenage pilot is set off in an attempt to become the youngest woman to fly solo around the world.
That is interesting. Young, how old is she?
19.
19, and she wants to fly solo around the world.
Around the world. She wants to beat the young man's Travis Ludlow. She wants to beat his record.
I've been very fascinated about this, George. This sort of flying around the world, especially when you're really young. First of all, let me ask you a couple of questions before we go to George. What sort of aircraft is she going to be flying? That's a good question, right?
That is a very good question.
And also, how long does she plan to do it in? And George, what are your thoughts? A lot of young people now are trying to break this record of, I want to be the young, like Seth Van Beek, youngest qualified pilot, etc. What are your thoughts on this?
Part of our, you've got cadets and students that they've got different backgrounds. So a good portion of them, they are young aviation enthusiasts. This girl is one of them. So I will not be really shocked if after a couple of years she's addressing the admissions department of Ignatia saying that I want to become an airline pilot. That's that's a community in our academy as well. I'm really fancying all these things. Honestly, it's something that, dreaming big, it's something that nobody can stop that one here, okay? We can only assist. In a way, we can do that one. You cannot really stop Seth dreaming about becoming the youngest commercial qualified pilot. Why should we? He got the capabilities. He got the fun to do it. So why not? Simply speaking. So it's very fascinating to see like a 19-year-old girl thinking about that one and planning about that one. Okay, I've got dreams as well, but when I open my agenda, I forget about my dreams because I've got many things to do. But still, well done. If she can listen to me, well done.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. No, that's incredible. I mean, dreaming, why should we stop dreaming when we can't dream? You should dream, especially when you're thinking about aviation. A lot of people that become pilots have wanted to become a pilot at a very young age. It's very rare to get a pilot that woke up 2 days ago and thought, do you know what I want to do? I want to fly for Ryanair. You know, most people that want to be a pilot have wanted to do it for a long time, which is incredible. Actually, I was thinking about this as well, George, whilst I've got you. I am a 35-year-old man. I've been doing a different job most of my life. I want to now fly. I want to go to Ignatia. Assuming that I pass all the tests, psychometrics, etc., there's a place for me within your school. Yes.
If you are 35, look, you know, I think that you realize that I'm very honest. If you are 35 years old, you need another 2 years and 1.5 years to finish your training, so you will be 36 and a half, 37 years old. You go to an airline and you've got one position available. It's yourself and the 25-year-old person. Obviously, the airline would like to invest with the same capabilities, okay, and technical specifications, let's say, if we can say specifications about the person. The airline would like to invest in the younger person for more years. That's the mentality in the business. However, we have proved so far that we've got 8 cases. I know them by heart because they used to be my students. We've got 8 people that they enrolled when they were 35 plus. All 8 of them are employed with major airlines. It is a matter of your personality. If you are 35 and above, you know how to read, you know how to study, you know how to prepare yourself. We don't need to convince you. You are a ready student, let's say. Okay. The airline entry selection is extremely important in your case because you don't have time to lose. You don't have other options. I mean, you need to finish and bam, you need to go to an airline interview and get the job. Okay, so it's doable. If you are thinking about it and you are 25 to 30 years old, think about it carefully and decide to do it or leave it. Okay, if you are going above 35 years old, there are limitations. Okay, so you need to make sure that you are taking the risk of not being accepted in an airline position because you are, let's say, without experience, you are overage.
Wow. That is an interesting perspective in looking at it. You know, I never thought about it that way. I always just thought, well, if you're older, there's no point. But the way you've explained it is from the point of view of investments. If you're finishing your training at 36, 37, the airline is thinking, how long more can I have this guy working for me? If I can have Seth Van Beek at 20, I've got Seth for about 30 years. That's 30 years of flying time. Hopefully he's going to come through the ranks, first officer, senior, and so on and so forth.
But you don't have, it's not easy to have a 19-year-old person with these qualifications, you know.
Yeah. It's not.
I wish we could, but it's not easy. Okay?
Few and far between.
I'm not trying to, you know, to bribe Seth, but it's not easy. I'm saying that, you know, obviously a 35-year-old person is much more mature and he knows what he needs to do and so on. But you know, you are limiting your chances. Yeah. And I'm being very honest with that one.
Wow. No, that's incredible. Over back to Nadine. Nadine, did you manage to find out how what aircraft this young pilot will be flying around the world?
He is flying a Shark UL.
Okay, interesting. Never heard of that plane.
A Shark UL, yeah. So it's a very ultralight aircraft.
That's good.
Sports aircraft, which holds a number of speed records. And Travis Ludlow, he flew a Cessna 172 2001.
Which is much more convenient from the ultralight, but so the girl is, you know, we a bigger milestone for her to do it with an ultralight. Okay,
definitely. I'm gonna follow her story and see if we can get her on the podcast at some point because, like you said, George, the 172 bigger utility. You can bring more stuff with you. If you're wanting to go around the world, you want range and you want utility. So that would be the aircraft of choice. And ultralight is literally just your body weight and maybe a suitcase. So it'll be really interesting to see how she makes that work and what the range in that kind of aircraft is. But Nadine, before we let George go and get back to running one of the biggest aviation schools in Europe, have you got anything else for us in the news?
Yes, I have. There's so much going on, especially with these young people and their inspiration. Seth, I think you started it really with all these young people wanting to be pilots and achieve their dreams. I think you did. You started something. We have a young lady. She's from Zimbabwe called Angus Nyondazi. I hope I said that right. She's breaking the trend and making moves to become a commercial pilot. Originally a refugee from Zimbabwe, and she's now in Saskatchewan, Canada, and she's determined to achieve her dreams. Well done, girl, and I hope she does do it.
Great stuff. How old is she?
She is 19.
19. And is she finishing up as well?
She's in the process.
In the process of it. Okay.
She's in the process
so
now.
She's not going to beat Seth's record. If she beats Seth's record, she can join the show as well. She can be one of my co-hosts if she beats Seth's record. George, I want to thank you so much, sir, for taking the time to come on our podcast today. It's been such a pleasure talking and listening to you speak. You shared some insights that even I had not considered. So it was such a joy to speak with you, sir. We would love to have you back on again. Keep us in the loop with everything that's happening at Ignatia, with your expansion, etc. So, yeah, we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you very much,
Yes,
Ellie, Nadine, Seth. I do remain at your disposal. Anything you need, please get back to me. I'm really happy to meet you again. Of course, you are all invited in Greece. Actually, you don't need an invitation. Just let me know. Let me know that you are coming, and I will arrange stuff. Okay?
Yes, yes.
Good luck.
Excellent. I'm ready.
We can't wait. We're coming. All right, take care, George. All right. Bye-bye.
Good luck with what you do.
Yes, sir.
Please continue to do these kind of things. That's amazing, and we fully support.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Take care.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
very much.
George.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
Definitely.
Big up, Steph, for plugging Egnatia Aviation. They are responsible for creating a monster. They are responsible for creating a kid that is sailing at 37,000 feet in an Eclipse 550. I don't say that in a derogatory manner, Seth. I don't mean kid in that sense, because you are also one of the most mature people that I have conversations with. But I mean, literally, some people your age right now, what you're thinking about is, what time do I wake up today, and what do I want to eat, and what video game should I play today? And that's, again, not a knock on people that feel and live a life that way. But the kind of thought, before we started the podcast, the problem that Seth has is he's stuck in France waiting on a private jet that he can fly to a different country. 20
That's
years
his
old.
problem.
That's
He's
it.
stuck in France.
He's stuck in France waiting
for ops to call him.
Waiting for ops to call him to
Yeah.
take out a private jet. Dude, some people, right now, they're like, I'll have a bit of Greg's in it for like Bakey. I'll pop down and see the man them in it. We'll go for a spin around.
Was that your London accent coming out?
Yeah.
Was that your imitation of a Londoner or a Southerner?
Yeah, we'll gan down to the park for 12 innit, and then chat to the rest of the boys. Like that. That's what some of these men at that age, and some of these men are older. So it's just such a joy to see the process where Seth came from. Sometimes you want to go back to see where people are coming from. Nadine, you might not know this. Before we started the podcast, Seth and I were here. I think you were still trying to get on, and George asked about you. He asked about your background. Funny enough, and myself and Seth were telling him what you do, and we said, hey, look, cabin crew for a major UK airline, masters in aviation, working at London Heathrow. So, he got the understanding that this is a team of individuals, myself, yourselves. I've always said I'm surrounded by the smartest people. You guys are way smarter than I, and I'm so blessed to be amongst you. But, we were talking about how we've got a collective of people that we know what we're doing, so we need to keep doing our podcast. I feel like we're going to reach out to so many people. If you're watching the podcast or listening today, just feel free to share our content, because it might not be you that wants to be a pilot. What if it's your nephew? What if it's your niece? What if it's someone's child, your neighbor's child that wants to do it? They need to be listening to this content. We've literally had the sales director of one of the biggest schools in Europe come on to have this kind of conversations. Normally, you'd have to fly to Greece to get a consultation and speak. You'd have to spend money on a flight ticket and a hotel to do this. You've got it on the podcast already. All the questions are being answered, and we're gonna plug in the website as well. So at the end, you can go into the comment section below, well, in the description, and you see all the information to the school, so you can go check them out as well. But yeah, guys, before we jump off, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Ready for departure, bro.
You're ready for departure. That's my guy. All right, you go do that. You go get ready to go. And Nadine, anything before we go? You good as well, or you're gonna go depart as well?
I am not going to depart, but I really enjoyed what he said about mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.
As I get my notes back up, I really enjoyed what he said about mindset and get to the airport ready to fly. That is a big one. I've underlined that exclamation marks. Get to the airport ready to fly.
Yep.
So
that is massive.
I think that is massive.
That is massive, especially because now Seth has to go get ready to fly a plane.
Fly.
I don't want to burst your bubble. Before we go, I know you guys are trying to come up to Newcastle for a massive episode next week. And I don't know, you guys are talking, I might be flying a private jet. I hope you guys don't fly a private jet off so I can say I told you so. I just want to laugh.
I want everybody to know. I want everyone to know this. Seth said there's a possibility there will be an empty leg so we can go to Newcastle.
Wait. Hold on. Let's make that clear. So Seth said it was an empty leg because Seth flies private jets. So one of the private jets might be free. Continue, Nadine. Continue. So so get this, guys. One of the private jets might be free to come up.
Leg,
okay, cool.
Right?
Everybody knows now. All right, cool.
Okay. I said that would be great because the commercial airline tickets are ridiculous.
Expensive.
Newcastle.
So £400 to fly from London to Newcastle, where it used to be about £70 or £80.
Right. This Mr. Eli,
Mr. Eli
said that this is ridiculous and it will never happen. I am praying, hoping, wishing, begging that this empty leg flight will get us to Newcastle and we go on a private jet, just so I can forever rub this in his face.
And if that doesn't happen and you guys don't get a private jet up to Newcastle and you're driving and you're listening to, I don't know what music you listen to when you're driving up to Newcastle in 4 hours, I'm going to laugh at you guys. But that's...
But either way, I just want this private jet.
Great.
To rub it in his face.
I want you to get a private jet. I want you to get on one of Seth's
even
private
if
jets.
you have to walk back.
No problem. I want you to get one. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a hater. Okay. I want you to get a private jet. The chances of it happening very, very slim. So I'm going to come on this podcast. I'm going to rub it in yours. No, not in Seth's face because Seth is my boy and Seth wasn't even getting involved. It's you that's getting involved. So I'm going to rub this on your face and all the audience are going to laugh and you're going to side with me in the comment sections below. Before we go, you know the vibes, guys. Please like, subscribe, share our content. Please follow us on all things Aviation Pod on Instagram. We've been lovely. You've had the lovely Nadine. You've had Seth and Big as a co-host and George from Egnatia Aviation. Take care, guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.